Have you ever wondered what happens when a god-tier strategist is trapped in the body of a level 1 weakling? Imagine being pulled from your ordinary life, standing before a king who expects a savior, only to be tossed aside like trash because your stats are pathetic. But what if level was just a number, and the real power lay in the mind of a man who knows how to tear an empire down from its foundations? Welcome back to Story Panel Channel. Today, we dive into a tale of betrayal, tactical genius, and the ultimate underdog story. Summoned to another world with level 1, I conquered every kingdom anyway. The air in the grand hall of the kingdom of Solsheim was thick with the scent of ozone and ancient incense. A massive magic circle, etched in glowing cerulean mana, pulsated on the marble floor. Standing at the center was Renjiro Kaito, a young man who, only moments ago, was sitting in a high-rise office in Tokyo, closing a multi-million-dollar merger. Now, he found himself staring at a row of knights in shimmering silver armor, and a king who looked more like a disappointed landlord than a majestic ruler. King Aldrich's voice boomed, echoing against the vaulted ceilings. "Is this the grand hero the prophecy promised? He looks fragile." Beside the king, the high mage frowned, his eyes glowing as he cast an appraisal spell. A translucent blue screen flickered into existence in the middle of the air for all to see. Name: Renjiro Kaito. Class: None. Level: 1. Strength: 5. Agility: 5. Magic: 0. Unique skill: Fixed existence. Level cannot be increased. A heavy silence descended upon the hall. In a world where the average farmer was level 10 and the royal knights were level 80, a level 1 hero with a fixed existence was worse than useless. He was a glitch in the system. The whispers began almost immediately. A level 1? He has 0 magic. Look at his skill. He can't even grow. Renjiro didn't panic. He didn't beg for mercy or cry out in confusion. Instead, he adjusted his glasses, his sharp obsidian eyes scanning the room. He took in the structural weaknesses of the pillars, the slight rust on the third knight's spear, and the nervous twitch in the king's left hand. In his old life, Renjiro wasn't just a businessman. He was a master of game theory and psychological warfare. To him, this wasn't a fantasy nightmare. It was a poorly managed corporation waiting for a hostile takeover. "Get this garbage out of my sight," King Aldrich hissed, waving a dismissive hand. "The prophecy must have been misinterpreted." "Toss him into the Grey Barrens. If the monsters don't eat him, the cold will. We have no use for a hero who can't even kill a slime." Before Renjiro could utter a word, the guards seized him. He was dragged through the cold stone corridors and thrown into a carriage. Hours later, he was dumped onto the desolate, jagged rocks of the Grey Barrens, a lawless frontier between kingdoms. As the carriage sped away, Renjiro stood up, dusting off his suit. He looked at his status screen one more time. Level 1, 0 magic, fixed growth. "Fixed existence," Renjiro whispered, a thin, predatory smile spreading across his face. "If my level can't change, it means my variables are constant." And in any system, a constant is the most reliable tool for a strategist. You don't need a high level to conquer a kingdom. You just need to know which gears to turn. Renjiro began to walk. The barons were supposed to be a death sentence, but he noticed things others didn't. He saw the way the wind moved through the canyons, the patterns of the local flora, and the desperate tracks of those who lived in the shadows. He wasn't looking for a sword, he was looking for leverage. His first opportunity arrived in the form of a small caravan under attack. A group of ragged demi-human refugees, mostly young and elderly, were being cornered by a pack of iron-hide wolves, beasts that were at least level 15. A normal level would have run. Renjiro moved forward. He didn't charge in with a weapon. Instead, he observed the terrain. He noticed a cluster of dry thistle plants growing near a narrow choke point in the rocks. He didn't need strength. He needed physics. He quickly gathered a handful of flint stones from the ground and positioned himself above the ravine. As the wolves lunged, Renjiro struck the flints. The spark caught the dry brush, and a sudden updraft carried the smoke and pollen directly into the wolves' nostrils. Within seconds, the predatory beasts were coughing, their limbs locking up from the paralytic agents. The refugees watched in shock as a man in strange formal clothing walked calmly through the paralyzed pack, dispatching the lead wolf with a precise thrust. The thrust went into the soft tissue behind its ear, the only spot where their iron hide didn't protect them. "Who are you?" A voice trembled. It was a girl with fox-like ears and bruised arms, holding a broken spear. Her name was Mia, and she was the highest level among them, a mere level 12. "My name is Renjiro Kaito," he said, wiping his hands, "and I am the man who is going to give you a kingdom." The refugees laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "We are outcasts," Mia said, looking at the ground. "The kingdom of Solstheim hunts us for sport. The kingdom of Drakenhold uses us as slaves. We have nothing." "You have me," Renjiro replied, his voice cold and commanding. "Solstheim thinks I'm a failure because I'm level 1. They think strength is measured by the glow of a status scream, but I see this world for what it is, a collection of fractured economies, ego-driven monarchs, and untapped resources. You want a home? I want an empire. Follow me, and I will show you that a level 1 can bring the world to its knees." Over the next few weeks, the small camp of refugees became Renjiro's first corporation. He didn't train them to fight like knights. He taught them logistics, camouflage, and psychological manipulation. He used his knowledge of chemistry to create basic black powder from cave minerals, and his understanding of trade to set up a black market network with the very guards who are supposed to be patrolling the barrens. Renjiro discovered that the neighboring kingdom of Galdora was suffering from a hidden famine. Their king was obsessed with building monuments, draining the grain reserves. Renjiro didn't attack Galdora. Instead, he used his small group to hijack the supply lines of the merchant guilds, not to steal the food, but to redirect it. He created an artificial shortage in the capital while miraculously providing food to the starving border villages under the guise of a mysterious benefactor known as the Architect. By the time the king of Galdora realized his people were more loyal to a ghost than to the throne, it was too late. Renjiro had already turned the village elders into his informants. He had mapped every secret tunnel and every corrupt official. One night, Renjiro sat by the campfire, looking at a map of the continent: Solstheim, Drakenhold, Galdora, and the Holy See of Valis. 4 kingdoms, each more powerful than the last. To any other level 1, this was an impossible map. To Renjiro, it was a 4-step plan. "Mia," Renjiro called out. The fox girl, now dressed in reinforced leather and carrying a crossbow of Renjiro's design, stepped forward. She was now his most loyal shadow. "The king of Galdora has called for a summit to address the rebel influence in the south," Renjiro stated, his eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "He expects a barbarian. He expects a fight. Instead, we're going to offer him a deal he can't refuse. By tomorrow night, we won't just be outcasts in the barrens. We will be the secret owners of Galdora's treasury." "But master," Mia whispered, "the king's guards are all level 50 and above. If they realize we're only level 1 and 10? "Levels only matter if you play by their rules," Renjiro interrupted, standing up. He looked out toward the horizon, where the lights of the distant capital twinkled. "They think magic and stats are the laws of this world. I'm going to teach them about interest rates, supply chains, and the terrifying power of a well-placed rumor. The conquest has already begun, and they haven't even realized the game has started." As the first light of dawn broke over the gray barrens, the level 1 hero began his march toward the first kingdom. He didn't carry a legendary sword. He carried a ledger, a pen, and a mind that was sharper than any blade in Aethelgard. This was only the beginning. Stay tuned to Story Panel Channel as we watch Renjiro Kaito dismantle the world's power structure, piece by agonizing piece. The age of levels is over. The age of the architect has begun. Chapter 6: The Silver Web and the Collapse of Solera. Renjiro Kaito's first target wasn't a fortress of stone, but a fortress of gold, the merchant kingdom of Solera. While the high heroes were busy grinding experience points by slaying forest goblins, Renjiro was busy manipulating the price of salt, grain, and iron. He understood a truth the gods of Aethelgard ignored. Even a level 99 paladin needs to eat, and his armor needs to be repaired. Using the wealth he accumulated from the Grey Baron's hidden mineral deposits, resources the locals deemed worthless because they gave no XP, Renjiro flooded the Solaran markets with high-quality goods at impossible prices. He created a debt trap so intricate that the king of Solera, Midas Ryuzaki, didn't even realize he had signed over his sovereignty until the bailiffs arrived. Renjiro didn't use a sword to take the throne. He used a contract. When the royal guard tried to arrest him, they found their salaries had already been paid by Renjiro's firm. The guards didn't draw their blades. They bowed. 1 kingdom down, 9 to go. The level 1 architect had proven that gold is heavier than any enchanted steel. Chapter 7: The Bloodless Siege of Kazinokuni. The news of Solara's bloodless fall spread like wildfire. In the north, the fiercely independent highland tribes of Kazinokuni prepared for war. Their leader, the legendary windslasher Isamu, laughed at the idea of a level 1 boy conquering them. He expected an army. Instead, Renjiro sent a single wagon filled with blueprints and a team of engineers. Renjiro had calculated the wind patterns and thermal vents of the highlands. He offered the tribes something their magic never could, a way to turn the brutal northern winters into a source of perpetual energy and warmth. He built the great windmills of Kaito, transforming their barren rocks into the industrial heart of the continent. By the time Isamu realized his people were more loyal to the man who gave them warmth than the man who gave them war, it was too late. Renjiaro offered Isamu a choice: remain a warlord of a dying tribe, or become the general of the architect's new world. Isamu, seeing the logic in a world that finally made sense, knelt. The Second Kingdom fell without a single drop of blood being spilled. Chapter 8: The Puppeteer's Gala. The mid-tier kingdoms of Ouroboros and Veritas formed an alliance, terrified by Renjiro's rising influence. They invited him to a peace gala, which was secretly an assassination plot involving the world's most powerful mages. Renjiro arrived alone, still level 1, wearing a simple black suit that stood out among the gaudy silken robes of the nobility. Princess Hiyori of Veritas attempted to use a high-level soulbind spell on him, but it slid off like water on oil. Why? Because the spell's potency was calculated based on the target's level. Renjiro's level 1 status functioned as a system error. To the magic of this world, he was practically a ghost, a rounding error in the code of the universe. While the mages panicked, Renjiro revealed his hand. He had spent the evening whispering to the disgruntled younger siblings and overshadowed bastards of the noble houses. By the time the dessert was served, a silent coup had already taken place in the kitchens and the barracks. The old kings were escorted to the dungeons by their own children, and Renjiro toasted to the new governors of the architects' provinces. Chapter 9: The Fall of the Radiant Hero. Finally, the Holy Empire of Aethelgard realized the true threat. They summoned their own trump card, Sato Kenji, the Radiant Hero, a level 150 powerhouse who had been pampered and leveled up by the church since day 1. Kenji represented everything Renjiro despised: power without understanding and strength without sacrifice. The two met on the plains of Valerius. Kenji swung his holy sword, Sunbreaker, capable of splitting mountains. Renjiro didn't move. He didn't have to. For months, Renjiro's companies had been providing the holy water and magic potions used by the Empire's army. He had subtly altered the chemical composition of every potion salt, With a single snap of his fingers, Renjiro activated a dormant catalyst. Kenji's mana didn't explode, it simply vanished. The hero fell to his knees, his level 150 status rendered useless as his internal engine stalled. Renjiro walked up to him, looked down with cold, calculating eyes, and whispered, "You played the game by their rules. I simply rewrote the manual." The Holy Empire, the strongest kingdom in existence, crumbled as its God-given power source was turned off like a light switch. Chapter 10: Zenith of the Architect. The 10 kingdoms were no longer 10. They were one. The map of Ethelgard had been redrawn into a unified technocratic empire. Renjiro Kaido sat not on a throne, but in a high-backed chair in an office overlooking his new capital. He remained level 1. He had no legendary gear, no divine blessings, and no harem of mindless followers. He had something better: total systemic control. The goddess who had summoned him appeared one final time, trembling with rage. "You were supposed to be a pawn, a level 1 joke to be discarded," she screamed. Renjiro simply adjusted his glasses and looked at a holographic display of the world's mana flow, which he now controlled through his industrial refineries. "The problem with gods," Renjiro said calmly, "is that you think levels define the soul. But levels are just numbers, and numbers can be manipulated. I didn't just conquer your kingdoms, I conquered your system." He then presented the goddess with a document, an eviction notice from the mortal realm. With the world's logic firmly in his hands, he banished the divine interference forever. The age of myth was over. The age of the architect had reached its zenith. Renjiro Kaido started as a level 1 discard in a world obsessed with power, but he ended it as the man who brought the gods to their knees, not with magic, but with the sheer force of his intellect. It goes to show that in any world, the most dangerous weapon isn't a sword or a spell, it's the mind that knows how to use them. Renjiro didn't just survive Ethelgard, he redesigned it. If you enjoyed this epic journey of strategy over strength, make sure to smash that like button and hit the bell icon so you never miss another deep dive into the world of manga and manhwa logic. What would you do if you were summoned to another world with only level 1 stats? Let us know in the comments below. For more incredible stories, character breakdowns, and rewritten destinies, stay tuned right here. This is the end of this saga, but many more are waiting to be told. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next panel. Don't forget to subscribe to Story Panel channel for your daily dose of epic narratives. Keep reading, keep dreaming, and we'll see you next time.